Breaking news today.
Please subscribe and then check notification box to get all breaking news alerts.
Breaking news: Donald drains swampiest part of Washington, D.C., over 700 gone. Donald Trump promised to drain the swamp. But it's deeper than you'd think. Aside from corrupt politicians, there are huge agencies that waste taxpayer dollars. These agencies abuse their power. Often, they undermine our liberties or the liberties of private enterprise. Since taking office, President Trump has taken dramatic steps to drain the swamp. The government has already shrunken drastically. He has slashed regulations, thanks to his executive orders. He's also reduced the size of staff across numerous agencies. But perhaps his biggest achievement comes from one particular group. A group that has been abusing federal power for decades. I speak, of course, of the EPA. From New York Times. More than 700 people have left the Environmental Protection Agency since President Trump took office, a wave of departures that puts the administration nearly a quarter of the way toward its goal of shrinking the agency to levels last seen during the Reagan administration. The departures reflect poor morale and a sense of grievance at the agency, which has been criticized by President Trump and top Republicans in Congress as bloated and guilty of regulatory overreach. That unease is likely to deepen following revelations that Republican campaign operatives were using the Freedom of Information Act to request copies of emails from EPA officials suspected of opposing Mr. Trump and his agenda. The cuts deepen a downward trend at the agency that began under the Obama administration in response to Republican-led budget constraints that left the agency with about 15,000 employees at the end of his term. The reductions have accelerated under President Trump, who campaigned on a promise to dramatically scale back the EPA, leaving only what he called little tidbits in place. Current and former employees say unlike during the Obama years, the agency has no plans to replace workers, and they expect deeper cuts to come. As a former contractor for the EPA, I can tell you this is a good thing. The EPA sucked up billions of tax dollars during the Obama administration. What do we have to show for it? Nothing. The EPA did more damage to our society and environment than good. The EPA is supposed to protect Americans. Instead, it is a radical political advocacy group. It pushes for the most extreme views on global warming and climate change. They wield far too much power. At their height, they abused private businesses. All that is changing, thanks to Trump. His measures are stripping the EPA of its radicals. The agencies will be scaled back. Its only goal should be to protect Americans' health. No longer will it promote extreme liberal views. The New York Times laments the loss. Yet I can tell you, those scientists and other staff were little more than leeches. They drained U.S. dollars, producing very little results. Much like the rest of the government. This is only the beginning. Expect more agencies to be reduced in size. The swamp is getting drained, little by little.